In the last lecture, we got a broad overview of the three different types of memory in Unity. Now we're going to go deeper into the first one, which is disk size. We look at what actually affects how large your game is on disk, how import settings can dramatically change that, and what streaming assets is, and when to use it, and how resources, streaming assets, and addressables differ from each other, and when you should pick one over the other. So, disk size. What does it include? It includes raw project assets, meaning your project files, which include things like textures, audio, meshes, everything. Very simple. But this is what actually matters. Import settings doesn't change disk size. Import settings doesn't change disk size. If you have a file that is like 50 megabytes and this is like a 2K texture, and if you compress it inside Unity's inspector, and it may turn to 2 megabytes, but the disk size is still the same. Okay? Disk size, meaning the size in your storage, is still 50 megabytes, even though the actual thing used in the game is only 2 megabytes. Okay? This 2 megabytes is included in the build size. I hope that makes sense. Okay? Import settings doesn't matter to disk size. Okay, this is very, very important. Essentially, disk size is simply storage space. That's it. For the raw file, not the compressed version of the file. This is very straightforward, and this has nothing to do with RAM. This has nothing to do with runtime memory. This terminology is also used when you're storing something in your hard disk or SSD, and the same terminology is also used when you're working with your project in Unity. Okay. Essentially, this is simply storage space. I hope this is clear. Now, why are we caring about disk size? This is very straightforward. Two reasons. First is that the import settings doesn't apply. This is very important to the raw files. And the second thing, that this solves a problem. Okay. We look at that problem once we finish runtime memory. Each different memory solves a different type of problem. So we'll discuss that at the end of lecture 3. Okay. Now I want to talk about something important with respect to disk size, and that is streaming assets. This is another reason why we need to talk about disk size. What is streaming assets? Streaming assets is a special folder inside Unity, okay, just like editor or resources. These are folders, right? Special folders that you write inside Unity. Streaming assets is also another special folder. The S is capital and A is capital, okay? It's a special folder because Unity doesn't touch it. Anything that you put inside that folder, Unity doesn't touch it. It just adds it to the build exactly as it is without any compression or without any recognition. Okay? We look at the differences. This is very similar to how resources work and also how addressables work. But we'll look at the differences in just a little bit. But just understand that Unity doesn't touch it. Okay? And this may increase build size because it doesn't touch it, it doesn't compress it, meaning build size will be increased. Okay. This is useful for large streaming files like video and audio. Okay. If you have a huge high quality video file that you want to stream in the middle of the game, this is how you do it. Streaming assets. If you have a giant cutscene that you just want to play, you can put it inside streaming assets that will not compress it at all. And then during the game, you can then simply play it. Okay? That is how this is used. Large streaming files like video, streaming assets. Just remember that. And because there is no compression and this is simply raw files, you load them yourself. This is not automatically loaded. You need to do special coding to load them yourself. If you're interested, I can make a separate video on it. And we're not going to talk about coding for streaming assets, but because we're talking about disk size and memory profiling, these things may exist in your game, and I want you to be introduced to this concept. Okay? If you need big, huge video files to be loaded, you use streaming assets. Okay? And you load them yourself through code. Great. Now, what's the difference between resources, streaming assets, and addressables? All of these things are used to load things differently. Resources is easy because it's very straight up code. It is older approach, meaning it's not recommended these days. Okay. And current games have a lot more things to load than just simple textures. Resources are the old way. You shouldn't use it, but it's an easy way. This is how you start loading things. Okay. The thing about resources is import settings are applied to our assets. Meaning, if you have a texture, Unity recognizes that this file is a texture and it will do the import settings to it. Okay. Streaming assets is a lot more hard to work with. You need to manually code them. It is great for large files. Okay. If you have smaller files like simple textures, it's better to use resources or addressables. But for large files, this is great. And the thing is, Unity doesn't recognize it. What do I mean by that? If you put a texture or if you put a video, Unity doesn't care. Unity doesn't touch it, right? So it doesn't know whether a thing is a texture or it's a video or anything. It just simply ignores everything you put in the folder. So you need to actually tell Unity manually that, hey, this is a texture that you need to load, or this is a video file that you need to load. So manually tell Unity. So this makes streaming assets a lot more hard. Now, the best way to load things is addressables. This is medium difficulty. It works well with asset bundles. You can bundle up assets and then put it into a bundle inside Unity. Loading them is easy, coding them is really easy. But the main thing is this is async or asynchronous, meaning things happen in the background. So there is no lag. Okay, meaning, yeah, no lag. Resources and streaming assets may not be asynchronous by default. There may be ways, I don't know. But addressables are loaded asynchronously. That is very important. And the most important thing is you can download from internet. If you played mobile games that are like maybe 50 MB in size, and then all of a sudden you have to download 1 GB, this is how you do it in Unity, addressables. So you can host your asset bundle or anything in a different Amazon server or something, and then you can have the ability to download it from the internet inside your game. Okay, that is what addressables is capable of. This is the better way to work with memory and everything, and this is newer. Okay, so this is great. I want you to start using addressables if you're working with things like loading things in the background, which is why disk size is important. Okay, I know this is not profiling yet, and there's no reason for me to teach this in this course, but I think this is relevant, and I want you to be, I want to dump all of my information to you guys. So if you're loading large files, use streaming assets, or else try to use and learn addressables. It is totally worth it. If you just want to load a simple thing and get it done, or if you're creating a simple game, use resources. Also, import settings apply to addressables. So that is also great. Unity recognizes things as well. So great. Addressables is a clear winner in this thing. But I want you to be familiar with streaming assets because it's not a lot talked about. And also resources, because that's how you load things. Addressables is a better way to load things. And because it is asynchronous, it has a lot to do with memory and a lot to do with spikes. Okay. You don't want performance spike because you're loading something. Okay. You want it to be asynchronous. So use addressables if you are loading something. Okay. Great. That is the end of this lecture. And I'll see you in the next one, which is about build size.